Gonna start recording. Well, hello. My name is Daniel Ranta, and I'm an adjunct professor at Kent State University in their master's program that's tucked underneath their I school, along with several other graduate programs. I teach in their knowledge management master's degree program. And one of the topics that often comes up when we talk about taxonomy and taxonomy creation is how you can do that. And today I'm going to talk in this training session about some data analysis, more specifically about some text mining or text analysis. And we're going to utilize an open source platform as part of our training today and this discussion. It's called Orange Text Mining. And so, and it's my honor to be sharing today's platform and this discussion with Dr. Rachad Najjar, a renowned expert in this area for knowledge management and text analysis. Dr. Najjar, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks you, Dan, and that's a great opportunity to have this call. Text mining is a really interesting topic. For me, I always get the question how we can extract more insights and information from text and a corpus that we have, and ultimately how we can define our taxonomy. We can do it in an engaging way, like having a conversation, and we can rely also on tools and artificial intelligence to help us get a better and comprehensive taxonomy. So that's a great session, and I'm looking forward toward what we are going to share.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's exactly what we're going to talk about, the complementary nature of discussing things with subject matter experts and refining the taxonomy, so to speak, and then complementing that with doing some automated processing of a corpus or a body of content that's very pertinent for creating a taxonomy. And in this case, we're going to talk about creating a taxonomy that's specific to a community. So let me go. I have some materials here, and we can just continue to talk back and forth. I like how this is going. And so, you know, when it comes to creating for a community, there's really 4 steps that I like to talk about. And it's the first step includes the text mining. And I call ultimately the objective here is to create a starter taxonomy, which is like a draft taxonomy for subject matter experts within a community, for example, community leadership, and people who truly have expertise in the scope of the community to evaluate. But a pre-starter taxonomy, you can do the heavy lifting with a text analysis tool. We'll talk about that today. You ultimately use that information you get to corroborate that, go back and forth with experts, validate with additional experts as their stakeholders within the community, especially if it's an existing community. They're very hands-on, and they maybe been doing a lot of tacit knowledge sharing, back and forth problem solving. So before you get to the point where you feel comfortable with that draft or that starter taxonomy, and you can launch. And of course, you and I both have quite a bit of experience turning that taxonomy into expertise, which for a community makes it special. I mean, everyone's been saying since 1991, right knowledge to the right people at the right time. But how do companies, organizations really do that? And I think that we can send those messages based on people's expertise and where they are true experts, package that up and send it more precisely and surgically. And that's what gets me excited about leveraging taxonomy and then moving it into the expertise area. And I know you've had a lot of experience in that area as well.
Yes, the taxonomy, you know, as you explained earlier, we use it and we consider it as capabilities. So whenever we want to build a learning program or a learning initiative, we want to look what type of capabilities we want to build into our engineering and workforce. So we always start from the taxonomy and see how we can acquire those capabilities. And it helps us to have some kind of focused purpose, where we know exactly what we are developing in terms of capabilities and streamlining our expertise. So definitely a good, solid, well-reviewed taxonomy will open up a lot of opportunities for learning, problem solving, and the competency development.
Couldn't agree more. So I mentioned that we're going to use orange text mining and analysis. Some things that I really like about this when I'm working with my clients is that, as you can see, all the analysis, that penultimate bullet on the right, is done on a local machine, no connectivity to the cloud. So you can feel comfortable from a security standpoint that you're not sending anything outside the company at all when you're doing the analysis. It's very, very interactive. This is open source software, which I think forward-thinking companies tend to like as well. It has a lot of add-ons, and we're going to talk about one, which is the text analysis today that we're going to do. I'm going to focus on, I mentioned that these are materials, about 90 articles that I've written, a couple in conjunction for sure with you, Dr. Najjar. And so you're very familiar with this corpus. It's a body of content, and we're going to run our text analysis sample today during the training. So it's about 600 pages of plain text content. We're going to get numerical analysis capability, computational. It's going to chase it into a word cloud and allow us the opportunity to be able to decide for repeat words how many we really want to select, and we'll show that and demo that. But the numerical analysis will lead us to other things as well, and other conclusions, and we'll demonstrate that in the course of today's demo. One of my favorite things about doing text analysis is definitely how we can extract based on hierarchical clustering. So we like to, both you and I are similar in that we like to do parents and children, or topics and subtopics. And this gives us a real leg up, a boost in terms of being able to show those affinity groupings that can start to form those children or those subtopics underneath main topics. So we'll talk more about that as well as we go forward. And this is what, just a simple diagram, what I talked about and you added on to at the beginning of our discussion, is that in step one, text analysis can start, and that's why I like a triangle, because you can do a lot of heavy lifting at the bottom when you have a lot of content. In this case today, the demo, we're doing a lot of plain text that you would never be able to do if you were not familiar with the content, the context, the specific articles that I'm going to be including in this text analysis. Then you corroborate that with expertise. That arrow on that triangle going up on the left shows the human expert refinement. Once the text analysis is complete, we corroborate that using experts and expertise. And the new refresh launch, as it says, we continue to listen to members later on, once it's, say, in a community, and you allow them to have, and this requires governance, the ability to make suggestions, because people are going to come in and they're going to say, hey, what about this? What about that? There are going to be gaps. So you have to be ready. It's like an English garden, a living, breathing thing where you're pulling out the weeds and you're adding new flowers into it for sure. So you got to be ready for that.
Yes, definitely, especially that experts have the context of their taxonomy terms and technical keywords. So the human interpretation coming from SMEs is really important to put into perspective and into context the outcome of text analysis. That's, as you mentioned, the human refinement. That's very important, because the same taxonomy, it can be reorganized or interpreted differently in different contexts. That's why the human touch is very important.
Perfect. So I'm going to pop over here to Orange Data Mining, orange like the fruit, datamining.com. Again, this is open source. This is free to be downloaded and utilized. And this is where I would download it here. I already have it downloaded on my machine, so I'm not going to go through this step. So I'm going to pop over into the actual, once it's downloaded, you can see here what it looks like. Now, one of the first things, in fact, I learned this from you, through this particular open source package, it doesn't come automatically with the text analysis included. Is that correct, Dr. Najjar?
Yes, correct.
So I've added it in, but one of the first things for text mining and text analysis you want to do is, once you have this loaded onto your local machine, you're going to want to go in here under options, and where it says add-ons, and click there. And insufficient permissions, starting Orange System Administrator.
Yeah, that depends on how, if you are part of a network, maybe that's kind of permissions. but maybe
Sure.
if you are lucky, you can overcome it.
Yeah. I think we're in good shape. I'm going to do a quick, and this is the one here that you want to add text. Okay. And add this
Yes.
version, this add-on. And again, I've already included this in this package, so I'm not going to do that today. But you go to options, and then you're going to search in there, search on text, and select the one that says just simply text, and say okay, and follow the instructions on there to add that add-on into the mix. So let's get started in our demo today for this text analysis. And the first thing we're going to do is listen to you. What is the first step here, Dr. Najjar?
Well, as first step, we want to prepare our documents and
Mhm.
words. So we want to import the set of documents which constitutes the corpus into the
Mhm.
software. So once you have the text module implemented, you should see the text section here. Okay, so what I advise then
Maybe I
is
should
to
go
go
through
through.
and should
Yes,
I do the add-on? Should I
yes.
go through
Let
and
us
follow up with you?
yes follow up. Let us see how is the process. So they have the full experience. Maybe if they face some issues, they know how to overcome it. And
Okay.
by the way, you can see Textable. This is another add-on which is do text mining, and it was developed by university academics and researchers. So as you mentioned earlier, it is open source. Any research laboratory can do their own add-on and add it to the software. Orange itself is very powerful. What I like it the most is the ability to aggregate and to mix different analysis techniques. So we can do the data analysis, we can do the text analysis, and even we can go further and do the network analysis. And we can connect all those type of analysis, maybe at later advanced sessions. I can show how to connect a text analysis to network analysis.
You know, what's interesting there is it just starts to remind me when you say network analysis of the opportunity to maybe automatically be able to incorporate this into a community that's an active community. So you can show the distances, not just between people, but between objects or pieces of content a number of different opportunities here. It's really quite a powerful concept and a powerful application.
Yes, definitely. And you can extend this concept to do analysis on social media. There's a lot of YouTube videos. They can search for it on how to do Twitter analysis and other social media. This is very powerful.
Yeah, very interesting. So I needed to restart my orange. So let me see where that might be. You think it's here available for me?
Yeah, so here I think, yeah, I click on it. This is the 3.33 version. You are using the Windows OS. It's also available for Mac OS.
Okay. So is it advisable that I follow these steps to go through the setup or?
Yeah, so this is, we are reinstalling again, but no need, it has launched.
Yeah, I think I'm all set, and I think I have it in here.
Yes,
And
yes,
voila, as we say in French, there it is, the text mining
yes.
area. So there
So
you have it.
previously we didn't have this section.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so back to your question, how to go through this process. So what we are
Mhm.
going to do is really the fundamentals. Overall, our plan is to import our set of documents. They are in Word documents, then do some kind of pre-processing, then compute them or represent them as numerical values, do the clustering, compute the distance between the pairs, and then show them visually into groupings. So overall,
Right.
we are going to do text clustering during this demonstration.
Yeah, I really looking forward to that hierarchical representation with the text clustering. So let's get started.
Great.
So
Yeah.
the first
Step
thing I
one,
want to do is, yeah. Import.
Step one is to import documents. So we are importing a batch of documents from a folder.
Okay. So all I've done is I just single clicked on import documents and this appeared over here. And I'm going to select a folder here.
Yes, so select the folder where it contains all your Word documents. It's good to
Okay.
mention that if you have Excel or tabular data in table format, we can also import those data.
Yeah, and it's better in HTML or plain text, or what's your preference when you're doing that?
We can have all types of file formats. Better to have them, or ideally, it's best to have them as Excel format, because in Excel we can extract features and we can create categories from column titles and their descriptions. But
So,
right now we can go ahead.
Okay, so I found here, Dr. Najjar, my governance articles. They're all listed in there. I know it's a clean set of folders underneath there, and this is going to include everything. So it's underneath in my file structure here underneath Kent State. So I'm going to select that folder, and I can see that things are taking place here.
Yes, the import has started. And overall, it's pretty quick process. So even in the next steps, it will not take so long for us.
Excellent. Always seems like those last couple percentages take a little bit longer for some reason, getting toward the end there.
Yes. The interesting part is if you have like a new set of documents, you just add them to the directory, to the folder, and then you reload the folder.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not completely redoing it over again. It's just making some additions.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So I'm assuming I can close out of this.
Yeah, before closing, let me mention something very quickly. You see you have imported 168 documents and 10 categories. I assume in your folder governance articles, you have created subfolders, and those subfolders, they are treated as categories. So if you have a set of documents, and if I recall one of your slides, you have those swim lanes or strategic areas. Those strategic areas, since you have created a subfolder for them, they are treated as categories. So you can classify a document into their respective strategic area.
Excellent. Yeah. I might have had some repeats in there, some repeat documents, and it recognized that maybe. So maybe those were some of the 13 that were skipped because they were already included in the analysis. But let me go ahead and close out of this.
Yes, close it. So now what we want to do, because every Word document, it has some punctuations, some points,
conjunctions,
some
and or the
yes,
words that we don't really care about.
And some words, for example, management, we can write it in capital M if it starts at the beginning of the sentence, or smaller m if it's at the end or in the middle of the sentence. So we want to pre-process all those noise, let's say, and have a normalized and clean corpus. So what we are going to do is to add pre-processed text widget.
Okay. And when I add a widget, I can just go ahead and I can make this little connection here with my cursor, which is kind of cool because now I know that that's happening.
Yeah. So let us take a look at pre-processed text.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, okay, you can dismiss this message. You see the transformation lowercase. It is checked. So we are going to lowercase all the words. And then in the next section, tokenization, which means we are creating our words. So a word is a token. And then reg XP, we are going to remove any punctuations. And then in the filtering, you see automatically the software has some stop words, for example, off, under, and below. Those are
Sure.
those are stop words. We can add our own stop words. For example, if we have words that are way below, we can add our own stop words. We can create a text file and import that text file into the folder icons that you have it. For now, let's continue. We are all set, and we have configured our pre-processing.
Okay, excellent.
So now let's do something funny and do something visual. We
Okay.
have our own set of words. Let's visualize them into a word cloud. So add, please, a word cloud widget.
Okay, and I'll make that connection.
Mhm. So
Wow, look at that.
no coding, we didn't write any code. The software did all the analysis, or let's say the pre-analysis based on the frequency of the word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, of
Okay,
course,
so
community is so, I mean, there it is, almost 4,000 times mentioned.
yeah, and for those who see for the first time a cloud word, it is based on the frequency of a word. So the most frequent word is the biggest and placed at the center of the cloud. And then when you go to the outer space of the cloud, you get those who are least frequently mentioned.
Right. Yeah. Let's choose about let's go down to 300 just to choose, and let's make this a little skinnier. So we're using only the words that they're mentioned the most. I'm going to hold the shift key down and go up to the top and select all of these. Now, is that automatically doing it, or is there something else
Yes,
that I need to do to trigger it?
it's done. You have selected our new corpus. So we are telling
Okay.
the software those are our new set of data or words.
Okay.
Just close
Great.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to add the corpus widget so that our selection is the new corpus.
Okay. I'll make that connection there.
Yeah, you know what you can also do? You can modify the relationship between word cloud and corpus. You see this
That sounds
relationship?
very interesting.
Yes, you see corpus, arrow, data. If you click on corpus, arrow, data, the relationship between those two widgets. Yes. So we are telling, if you double click on it, so we can choose what words will be delivered to the corpus. So if you remove by double clicking on this arrow, yes. So we are telling only those selected words. You have selected words that are higher than 300 counts. So
Okay.
those selected words, feed them to our new corpus.
Excellent, excellent. So we've got that all set up. So it's going to be those top, all the way down to 300 times when they're mentioned. And I'm just going
Yeah,
to say okay here, correct?
yeah, correct. So up till
Excellent.
now, we have English words, but when we do computing, we compute numerical values, we compute numbers. That's why we want to transform now our English words into numerical values. So to do that, we have a widget called document embedding.
Okay, is that in the text mining area or is it in transform?
It is in transform. We can also have them, give them a tip. In the white space in the diagram, you can right click on the mouse in the white space in your diagram. Yes. And you can have a list of all the widgets. You can type document embedding.
Excellent.
Yes. And you will have it.
Okay. And I want to make that connection, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
It's working.
A first attempt to create those numerical representation is now happening. We can also configure what type of transformation we want to do. So if it is done, you can double click on it. Yes, I think all good, all set. Yes, you see pretty much everything is somehow automatic. We don't need to do a lot of configuration.
Right. Yeah.
Now at this stage, we have our words as numerical values. Let us visualize those numerical values. And for that, we want to have a widget called data table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, data table, if I'm not mistaken, is back over in the
maybe in the data section.
Let me take a look.
Yes.
There it is.
So connect document embedding to data table.
Okay.
Double click on data table.
Wow.
Yep. So you see those are our words.
Mm-hmm.
And those dimensions are the numerical representation. We are going to use those dimensions to compute the distance, and then we can cluster them later on.
Okay, fantastic.
So just to visually see our values. Now what we are going to do is to calculate the distances between those pairs. So for that, we have a widget called distances.
Okay. And is that in the text mining area?
You can find it in text mining, and
or
you
I
can
could just click over here.
You can click over here. You can type distances, and you will have it.
Perfect.
So now we want to connect document embedding. So this is where actually our numerical values reside. The output from document embedding. A data table is just a visual. So actually, the data are in document embedding. Yeah, you can remove. Yeah, cool. All good. So now there are multiple methods to calculate the distances between rows and columns. If you click on distances, you see we want to calculate the distances between rows, and the distance metric, by default, it is Euclidean. But in this method, we are going to use cosine.
Okay, fantastic.
So, yeah, we are going to compute the angle between rows. Yeah, and close it. I think the the computation is done, and we have computed the angle, the distances. Now we want to visually see those pairs. So to do that, there's a widget called the hierarchical clustering.
Okay, and that's in text mining, isn't it?
Yeah, let's double check.
Well, let's go ahead and.
Yeah,
I know you like the right click option, so let's just go ahead and type in hierarchical clustering. We're getting to my favorite part here. There we are. And I'll make that connection.
Okay. So by default, you see numbers. So this is the number of the word. We want to change from left-hand side on the menu, the linkage, we want to choose word. In the linkage drop-down menu, we want to choose word. And then, yes, the annotation, the label, we want to choose, yes, please, words.
Perfect.
So now we have our, let's say, clusters.
I see.
So
Excellent.
you can
we can see these are
Mhm.
These are essentially some subtopics that are starting to be suggested to us in the bottom of that triangle that we talked about earlier. Quite interesting.
Yeah. So pretty much, if I recall, you have 168 Word documents.
Mhm.
Imagine you are going to do it manually. That will be, if possible, very time consuming. And now it's around 30 minutes with explanation. But once you get used to the process, you do it in 2-3 minutes, and you get
Yeah,
initial clusters or groups of terms.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I ran through this yesterday with another corpus, and it took me basically just 4 or 5 minutes to get all the way to the hierarchical clustering portion of this. So you're right. I mean, once you just get used to it and you click right on through, then you're ready to run in that direction. So it positions us to do the heavy lifting on the bottom of the triangle that we were talking about earlier. Here, as I go back into show mode on this, for example, and we've done this part down here to be able to start to have conversations with some people who really know about the scope of, in this case, a community and the topics and subtopics that are the most important and really valid for them in terms of their scope. And like you said earlier, I loved how you said it, their capabilities and competencies, what they really know about and what they need to know about.
Yep. So that's a great step, or let's say fundamental step to do. Maybe in later sessions, we can show the network analysis. It's very powerful. If we have more data or more metadata related to our documents, for example, the author who wrote that best practice or best known methods. So if we can have more metadata associated to our documents, we can visually establish relationships between the people, the authors, and the content. So
Yeah.
as more we have metadata, more we can establish relationships and get insights.
What's interesting about that is that we ask people within communities typically, and I know you operate the same way, to nominate their own expertise. And we're very careful when we talk about expertise and true experts. So what you just talked about there, Dr. Najjar, opens the door for us to have a determiner or a determinant to help us decide who real true experts might be. Because, so to speak, the data analysis is not going to lead you astray, and it's going to be just a fabulous way, as you suggest, to do that network analysis and match people up, maybe to ask them, hey, it looks like your expertise is in these areas, or it looks like you're truly an expert if you want to establish criteria to be able to cross over from expertise, having it, and being an expert. And you can corroborate that with these individuals and say, are you truly, would you say you have expertise, or are you truly an expert in this area?
Yes, very well said. And also as a way to discover who are those hidden collaborators and mediators. We know in a large organizations, there are a lot of hidden spots and field workers who do the networking without getting noticed. So this can
Yeah.
also be as a way of recognition for those connectors who help their colleagues to find answers and to let the flow of knowledge flow from one region to another.
I love how you said that, because the hidden spots, it reminds me about, how you and I have talked before about how all knowledge is local. And so,
Yes.
and some people that are in a local area, geographically speaking, in the world may not realize that they're sitting on, you referenced a best known method, a BKM. And they're not even thinking about, well, maybe they're thinking that others must do this better than we do. And really, they're the ones that um, kind of have the most tacit knowledge and do something the best. So the hidden spots, if we can bring those out in the course of this type of analysis, it's just a huge opportunity to be able to show those.
Yes. I can't agree more.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to go through this with you, and I hope our audience has enjoyed going through this process. Had a couple of little rough spots in there, but when you're doing a demo and you're doing some learning, that's going to happen. So this was a quick overview of text analysis, specifically focused on this open source tool, Orange Text Mining, and the leveraging the add-on there for the text mining capability, text analysis. And I hope you enjoyed it. And Dr. Najjar, I want to thank you especially as our guest expert during the session.
Great pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, take care. You know,